Hi guys, it's Miss Holly and I am here for the coding, chalk, and water video for August 5th. And you will notice I am in the library right now, but I am not wearing my mask. And that is because I am in a special room in the library where you don't have to wear your mask if you're a librarian filming a program. I'm in the study room and I do have my mask ready to go here. So, in case you were wondering, I have it, I'm ready to go. I'm just not using it right now while I'm filming for you. Alright, so the first step for your coding, chalk, and water squirters game is going to be drawing your grid for the coding part. So the instructions for like on a driveway or a parking lot or somewhere where you can draw on the ground with chalk would be a 6x6 grid, and that means a foot. So 6x6 is a foot. 1 foot by 1 foot would be 6 feet, and that's pretty big. And I don't have 6 feet, so that's why I have a mini grid right here. Each square is 6 inches by 6 inches instead of 12 inches by 12 inches. And your next step will be to color in some of the squares. It doesn't matter which ones, and it doesn't matter what color you use. You just want to color some in. So let's get started. We'll just random ones, just any old one you want to color in. And it looks like this marker isn't super great, but we will make do. It'll probably look way better if you're using chalk. So I have my squares colored in, just random ones I decided. And so besides chalk and a place to draw, what else do you need for this? So you're going to need 2 people. So maybe an adult or your older sibling and you. And you know, if you have more than 2 people, that's fine too, but you need at least 2 people. That's the bare minimum. So like I said, chalk. In my case, I have the dry erase markers, but you might have chalk. The 2 people, and you'll need water. And I have these water squirters here. They make weird noise. You could use a water gun, you could use a hose, you could use anything really that squirts water. What you are going to be using the water for is to be washing the chalk away. So that is why you want something that can squirt it in a direct path. So you have your supplies, you have your people, and you have your grid drawn out. What do you do now? How do you play? Well, you will take your first person, whoever wants to be in charge of the water squirter, really, you're going to be the sprayer or the squirter. You'll be over here, and you will be outside of the grid, facing the grid with your water squirter. The other person will be the robot, and the robot is going to stand in one of these squares on your grid. It doesn't really matter wherever you want to stand. It would make more sense to kind of start at the beginning towards where the sprayer, the water squirter guy is, but you can start wherever you want. So the point of the game is the water squirter has to direct the robot through this grid. And if the water squirter is smart and wants to spray their robot with water, they have to get them at one of these squares that you colored in. And then when you spray the robot on these squares, you should be able to spray the chalk off of them so they are no longer colored in squares. Now you may think this sounds easy, but it is a little tricky because you have to think like a robot or a computer. And my favorite example of how computers think is C-3PO, who is a robot and or droid from the Star Wars movies. Anytime anyone gives him too much information or isn't extremely literal about what they're trying to tell him, he gets all confused and flustered. And that is how every computer is as well. So I have a magnet here. I'll pretend I am the robot here. So if you're the robot right here, this is the magnet, and your squirter tells you to, I don't know, turn towards this square right here. And maybe you'll just do that. You'll just turn. That's it. That's all he asked you to do. Maybe you wanted your robot to move to the square, but you didn't say that. You just said turn. So that is what I mean by very literal. You have to tell your robot to turn, and then you have to tell your robot to move forward. Can't just tell him to go, otherwise he'll just go anywhere. So that is pretty much how this game works. If you want to make it a little more challenging or harder for you, you can do less colored in squares. So if you have maybe just 2 or 3 instead of, I have like, what do I have, 5 or 6, that'll be harder for the squirter over here to direct you to a square since there's less of them. And then if you want to make it even harder than that, you can make a rule that your water squirter over here has to write all of the instructions first. So before the robot here is moving anywhere on the grid, all of the instructions to get to one of these squares has to be written out by this guy over here first. And that is kind of how computer programs work. Even what you're watching this on, I don't know if you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube or any of those websites, but all of the websites have a computer program written before you use it. And I just thought of a few other modifications you could do to make this a little more fun. You don't have to use a water squirter like this if you don't want to, or a water gun. You could use water balloons and maybe try throwing them at your person. Or if you guys really aren't in the mood for getting wet today, or maybe it's a little rainy, you could use silly string instead. And then there's no one gets soaking wet at all. You just get silly string on you and you just wipe it off. All right, so that was all the inside parts of this video. Now we are going to go upstairs and outside to go try some of the chalk parts out on the parking lot of the library. And gotta wear my mask. Gotta wear my mask in the library, guys. So we are outside of the library parking lot right now, and I'm not sure if you can hear our air conditioner over my voice, and if so, I'm sorry. But we are outside ready to squirt some water. So here is my grid that I drew outside. It is the same size as the one on my white erase board, so it's not a huge 6-foot grid or anything, but it's enough to show you what I mean. Got my water squirter over there, ready to go. Alright, so we are going to try and get that robot to one of those squares. So I don't know what you think, but I think probably the first thing we should do is to tell the robot to go one square to its left. So that would be left. That way. So we have moved our robots to one square to the left. And let's see, what do you think we should do next? We could go to that one on the left, or we could go to the one above it. I'll try going to the one to the left just to keep going a little longer. But maybe if you were really competitive, you would go to the one above it. So let's say, robot, go one square to the left. Oh my God. It is in the zone. Let's squirt him. Alright, so I think maybe we learned something here. If you use too much water, it'll run over your entire grid. So that's why it's probably why you want to make your grid gigantic and 6 feet by 6 feet. So you can keep going after you squirt them once. It kind of depends on how much water your robot is willing to absorb. You can keep going and try to get to the other red squares on here, or you can trade roles and have the robot be the squirter and vice versa. And that is pretty much it for coating chalk and water squirters. If you guys do this at home, it would be totally awesome if maybe your mom took a video on her cell phone or something, took a picture, posted on the library's Facebook. That would be great. This is definitely more of an outside program, definitely more of an in-person program, and I'm really sorry that we had to do a video of it. But we planned these programs way back in like April or May, which was, I think that was before we were even had to wear a mask into all the businesses and stuff like that. So that was way a long time ago, back at like spring, before you guys even got out of school. So hopefully you enjoy the video and you can play this at home, and then you don't have to be on your computer all day. You can do something outside for fun that can teach you about computers too. Bye everyone.